2 years ago, I sat on my couch staring at a closet full of clothes I hadn't worn in months, feeling this weird, physical tightness in my chest. I thought I was just lazy. I didn't realize my nervous system was actually in overdrive. Every single day, you make roughly 35,000 decisions. What to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first, which of your 47 streaming services to actually watch by 2 p.m. Your brain is exhausted. And you haven't even started the important work yet. This isn't a willpower failure. This is decision fatigue. And it is exactly why the person living in a minimalist 400 square foot apartment is often significantly happier than someone in a 4,000 square foot house stuffed with things they might need someday. Today, we are diving into the actual neuroscience and psychology behind why having less makes us happier. And more importantly, we're going to look at how your physical clutter is literally altering your brain chemistry. Let's start with a famous experiment from the year 2000. Psychologists Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper set up a jam-tasting booth in a grocery store. On one day, they offered 24 different flavors. On another day, they offered just 6. Now, logic tells us that more choice is better. The display with 24 flavors definitely attracted more people. But the display with just 6 flavors? It sold 10 times more jam. Here's why. When we are faced with too many options, 3 psychological traps are triggered. First, we experience analysis paralysis. We become so terrified of making the wrong choice that we simply make no choice at all. Second, even if we do choose, we are less satisfied. We become haunted by the alternatives we didn't pick. Psychologists call this opportunity cost haunting. You buy the blue shirt, but you spend the rest of the week wondering if the red one would have looked better. Third, and this is the most crucial part, your brain treats every single unchosen option as a microstressor. It constantly pings you asking, did I pick wrong? Should I have researched more? The researcher Barry Schwartz coined this the paradox of choice. His data showed that people who actively limit their options report significantly higher life satisfaction. More is not better. More is a happiness trap, but it goes deeper than just the choices we make in a store. It's about the physical environment we live in. Let's talk about cognitive bandwidth. Your brain has a strictly limited amount of working memory in a highly cited study on cognitive load. Researchers asked one group of participants to memorize a 2-digit number. They asked a second group to memorize a 7-digit number. Afterward, they walked the participants down a hall and offered them a snack. They could choose between a slice of chocolate cake or a bowl of fruit salad. The group memorizing the 2-digit number mostly chose the fruit, but the group holding the 7-digit number in their head, they overwhelmingly chose the chocolate cake. Why? Because holding that extra information in their working memory depleted their cognitive control. They didn't have the mental energy left to make the disciplined choice. Now apply this to your home. Every single item you own is a latent decision. That jacket you haven't worn in 2 years? It's a decision you made to buy it. It's a daily decision not to wear it. It's a decision about whether to keep it just in case. Multiply that by 300 items in your closet and 1,000 items in your house. Your brain is constantly processing a 7-digit number every single second you are awake. Minimalism is not about aesthetics. It is about reclaiming your cognitive bandwidth. When you reduce physical clutter, you reduce the background processing your brain is forced to do. That mental RAM gets redirected toward creativity, deep work, and actual peace. But let's get into the actual biology because the effects go beyond just mental fatigue. In 2009, researchers at UCLA Center on Everyday Lives of Families made a stunning discovery. They tracked the cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone of the families in their study. They found that the more stuff in a home, the higher the cortisol levels of the people living there. And this wasn't just when they were cleaning. Their stress hormones were elevated all day long. Chronically high cortisol is linked to anxiety, weight gain, brain fog, and a suppressed immune system. But why does a messy room spike your cortisol? Reason number 1, the Zeigarnik effect. This is a psychological principle stating that the human brain remembers uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. That pile of unsorted mail on your counter? Your brain doesn't see a pile of paper. It registers it as dozens of unresolved open loops. It keeps pinging you. Reason number 2, visual noise. Your brain processes everything in your field of vision, even if you aren't consciously looking at it. A cluttered room is the visual equivalent of trying to read a book in a crowded restaurant where 20 conversations are happening at once. It forces your brain to work harder just to filter out the noise. Reason number 3, evolution. On a primal level, your brain interprets chaos and disorder as a potential threat. Clutter triggers a low-grade, chronic fight or flight response. But here is the good news. When researchers had participants actively declutter their primary living spaces, their cortisol levels dropped measurably. Not in months, in days. So, if having less makes us biologically calmer and mentally sharper, why is it so hard to let go? This brings us to the hedonic treadmill that we are wired to believe that happiness is just one purchase away. The new phone, the bigger TV, the kitchen gadget that promises to change your life. But humans have a psychological feature called hedonic adaptation. We normalize almost any positive change within a matter of weeks. That new car smell is gone in a month. The excitement of a bigger apartment fades in 6 weeks, and it just becomes home. You run faster and faster on the treadmill of acquisition, but your baseline happiness never actually moves. Minimalism breaks this cycle by forcing a massive psychological shift. It moves you away from building an identity through consumption and forces you to build an identity through values. When you strip away the signaling, the idea that I am the person who owns this car or I am the person who has this wardrobe, you are left with a much harder question. Who am I without my stuff? Research by psychologist Tim Kaiser shows that people who prioritize intrinsic values like personal growth, relationships, and community over extrinsic values like wealth, image, and status report significantly higher, more durable well-being. Minimalism isn't about deprivation. It's about making space for what actually matters. So, how do you actually execute this without becoming a monk? Here are 3 practical rules to start today. Rule number 1, the 20-20 rule. If you can replace an item for under $20 in under 20 minutes, and you haven't used it in 6 months, let it go. The mental cost of storing and tracking the item almost always exceeds the financial cost of replacing it. Rule number 2, 1 in, 1 out. If you buy a new pair of shoes, an old pair has to be donated. This creates a natural friction that prevents recluttering. Rule number 3, the identity shift. Stop asking, will I need this someday? Start asking, does this support the person I am becoming or the person I used to be? That guitar you haven't touched in 3 years? You might not be holding on to it out of joy. You might be holding on to it out of guilt. Let the guilt go too. And finally, remember that digital minimalism counts. Your phone is a clutter warehouse in your pocket. Unsubscribe from 10 email lists today. Turn off all non-human notifications. Reclaim your digital bandwidth. The research is incredibly clear. Our brains were not designed for 35,000 daily decisions, 300-item wardrobes, and infinite digital feeds. Every single item you remove from your life is not a loss. It is cognitive bandwidth reclaimed. It is cortisol lowered. It is physical space created for the experiences and relationships that actually produce lasting happiness. Minimalism isn't about having less. It's about making room for more of what you actually love. That if you want to put this into practice this weekend without getting overwhelmed, I've put together a free 1-page decluttering checklist. You can grab the link in the description. And if you want to understand the hidden psychology behind why we emotionally attach to sentimental items and how to finally let them go without the guilt, hit subscribe. We are breaking that down in next week's video. I'll see you then.